Today we are having a conversation with Silvia Ribeiro. She's the director of the Latin America, I would say, part of ETC. ETC is an organization. Well, it means Erosion, Technology and Concentration. It's an organization that has followed biotechnology issues for more than 30 years, including power, corporate power, intellectual property, and other issues. Silvia, thank you for talking to me. Your organization is about to publish a book or a report about who will feed the world or who will feed us. What can we expect from the outcomes or the findings of your publication?
Yeah, sure. This is the book. And it's called Who Will Feed Us? The Peasant Food Web or the Industrial Food Chain. And what we have done is that we have compared what the industrial food chain does, who is feeding the world now, and what does what we call the peasant web. And what we found, this is already the third edition, which is very much updated. But already in 2009, when we started working on this, we found that 70% of the world population is fed by what we call the peasant web. That is peasants, but it's also pastoralists, artisanal fisheries, urban gardens, like what people garden at home in cities, and also the recollection and the hunting is also a significant part of it. So all this is what gives the food to 70% of the people in the world. While the industrial food chain, which is dominated by transnational companies, very few in fact, maybe only 20 have the majority of the different percentages in seeds and agrochemicals, in all kinds of inputs, but also in processing, in the supermarkets. They only reach 30% of the global population, but they have taken almost 75% of the agricultural land and also 80% of the water and the fossil fuels used in the production, in the agricultural and food production. So what we have seen is that the industrial food chain is really responsible for the main diseases, health and animal diseases, and is also responsible for a lot of the environmental damage. But at the same time, they are using the majority of the resources and only give food for 30% of the people. So this is one of the main conclusions. The other conclusion that is new for this edition of Who Will Feed Us, is that we made the calculation that even if the industrial food chain is the largest market in the world, it is for every dollar that people pay for a product in a retailer, the society pays $2 more to clean the mess, to try to do something with the health and environmental damages produced by the food chain. So it's a hidden cost of the agricultural chain. So this is our main conclusion, what we try to show here. This is done in a booklet form because we want many people to read it. It will be in Spanish, English, and also in French. But it has more than 200 sources. And most of the sources are from official sources like FAO, like UNDP, like UNEP and others, United Nations, most of them, and other researchers and institutions. So that we did it in this form is to reach more people because we think it's so important to break the myth about who is feeding the world.
So the agri-food, I would say, industry or sector is beating all sectors in terms of global markets. How did we end up in that situation?
Well, it's a really interesting question because like 30, 40 years ago, the food market and the agriculture and food market was quite decentralized. It was even in seeds, even in commercial seeds, there were more than 7,000 companies. Now we have in seeds, only in seeds, 6 companies that are going to get 3, which is Monsanto, Syngenta, DuPont, Bayer, Dow, BASF. And they are merging with each other, so we will have only 3 that will have almost 2/3 of the global market on seeds. But they also control more than 2/3 of the agrochemical market. And they also have 3/4, 75% of the agricultural research. So what they did was that they really tried to centralize the food production, they centralize the storing, centralize the transport, so they could take over the market. So it has been a process, a very rapid process. It's only like 20, 30 years, where the big chemical companies has been buying seed companies and local companies to dominate the market.
So it's about concentrating power and concentrating or accumulating capital to the ends of few, basically, because as you are explaining, the seeds or the agri, sector companies have been buying other, companies in the world. You said that it will end up being only 3 companies controlling the food system. That's interesting. So what do you think that academia, researchers, professors, and universities could do about all of this?
Well, I think that we are speaking about the main problems for the planet and for humankind. We are speaking about hunger. We are speaking about if, today we are in a situation where obese people and malnutrition and obesity are much larger than so-called hunger. There are 800 million people hungry, but they are much more, like 2 billion people. 2 billion people obese, and another almost 2 billion people that are in malnutrition. And this is because of the industrial food chain, because of all the chemicals and because of the food produced this way causes not only health problems but also environmental problems, is the main factor for climate change. So we are speaking about biodiversity, climate change, water, soil, and people. And really, I think what the academia can do and the critical researchers can do is to take these different issues and really try to break down the myth that we need industrial production of food and energy to be self-sufficient and to really, cover our needs. So I think we started with this research, and why we are doing several editions is because many other researchers and organizations, and also La Via Campesina and farmers organizations, has been contributing with critiques, with questions. We think that the academia has this role of trying to get the myth, trying to get the facts, because many of the facts in the United Nations organizations are very general or cover things that disguise the reality instead of show the reality. For instance, when we started FAO in 2009, they said that the peasants had more than 50% of the land. And when Grain, not us in ETC, but Grain made an analysis country by country, they realized that the units they were using were way too large, and they were calling that family farming or small farming, and that is not helpful because it gives a wrong impression.
Yes.
So we think the academia has a really important role in debunking the myths and making real, very thorough research that can challenge things that are not done well and that show a reality of the industrial agriculture that is very different from what they really provoke.
Okay. My last question will be, what can peasants all over the world, but particularly in Southern Africa, where I come from, how this publication could help them? How my mother, for example, in Mozambique could be, could profit from from this publication and the findings you are presenting to the public?
Well, one thing is that I think that the peasant web in the world has to be so proud everywhere in the world because of the contribution that is doing for everything, for food, for the environment. But also, this is a way to recognize that this is not only the responsibility of farmers, it's not only farmers that have to feed the world. Farmers, peasants, not farmers in general, peasants and the peasants' food web, like, as I said, pastoralists, fishermen, even urban gardeners, they are the most important contribution to food and also to preserve the environment and to hold climate change back. And it's a way also of recognizing this, to be proud of this. But also because our health, the health of our children, depends on that we can really value and support the food web that is made by peasants. So I think that, for instance, I don't know if your mother is a peasant.
She is.
Yeah, she should be particularly take pride of this kind of study because not only because of this contribution, but also because women created agriculture. Women are the main custodians and creators of seeds that are resilient, that are more nutritious, and it has been all this incredible work that still makes that this world that has so many problems can hold a little bit of sanity. And it is depending on people like your mother, exactly, boy.
Thank you, Silvia, for talking to me. And sorry for the background noise.